G'day guys, Dean from Blog for the Blood God here, and we've just gone live. We're doing a very exciting Patreon exclusive giveaway today, where I'm going to be giving away three things. I'm going to be giving away a 3D printed Angron like this lad here, beautiful model, and I'm also going to be giving away, as a test, a couple bags of dice, Patreon exclusive dice I've had previously sold out. However, I found a few more kicking around in the old garage, so we're going to be doing a free giveaway of those. And then yeah, the Patreon exclusive giveaway with the 3D printed Angron actually comes packaged in a box like so, with all of these beautiful little packaged, cute as fuck, little 3D printed components. So the full kit's there. You've got a few different versions of him in there as well, like a few different head options and stuff. So really excited to get that out to you guys. And this is also going to be the very first Patreon exclusive giveaway that we've done. I'm planning to do them every month. So yeah, all you have to do to enter these, automatically get entry. All you have to do is sign up to the Patreon. So you don't have to do any liking or sharing or any of that fancy shit. Just sign up to the Patreon. You can sign up for as low as $1 per month, and that'll get you automatic entry into this competition. Now, if you are watching this live, feel free to jump into the chat, and we'll get a bit of a conversation going as well in between drawing these winners. So we can try and make it a bit of a combo of a general live stream conversation style video as well as a giveaway. Now, if you have any challenges or anything like that with the stream, please let me know, because I am far from tech savvy. I'm good at a lot of things, but technology is definitely not one of them. So I believe the audio is working. I believe everything is working fine. However, if it's not, please make sure to jump into the chat and let me know if it is or isn't working. Either way, any feedback that you guys can give in that chat window would be very much appreciated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit before we get started on the giveaways about the process of the giveaways and how I'm going to be determining who the winner of this is. I thought, given that this is a 40k channel, there would be no better arbiter of the decisions than a humble D6. So basically what I've done is I've taken every single person who shows their support for this channel on Patreon. I've calculated what their monthly contribution is. And then from that, I've allocated them a number of tickets equal to their monthly contribution. So people who contribute $30 a month get 30 tickets into the raffle, essentially. People who contribute $4 a month, they get $4. Well, 4 tickets, right? So the more you contribute, the more tickets you'll get, and therefore the more able to win the competition you are. And that's essentially how I've done it. And then I've created a little bit of an algorithm where I'm going to roll the dice, put that number in, and it'll take that entire list of tickets and it'll split it into 6 chunks. So whichever chunk you're in, based on the dice roll, you'll then go into the next round. And then from there, we roll again, and we basically keep doing that over and over until we have a single ticket remaining. And that's how we're going to determine who is the winner. So let's just jump down into this next screen so you get a bit of an idea on what I'm talking about. So as you can see on the left there, or the right, depending on your orientation, I don't know how this works, whether it's on my left or right. I think it's on my left. So this this is your tickets up here. So as you can see, the people in the top, they have the number of tickets is their contribution. So the higher the contribution, the more tickets. So that's each person who supports on Patreon, followed by their number of tickets. And then you can see they have a from and to range. Now that is basically how many tickets they get. From ticket 0 all the way, or from ticket 1 all the way up to ticket 30. That's the first person. From ticket 31 through to, fucking 60 or whatever is the second person, so on and so forth. And then up the top along here, you can see this will be our first roll. And basically this will be, we roll the dice, and then that will determine which of those 6 brackets, if you will make it through to the next roll. So it'll eliminate 5/6 of the field with that first roll. Then the next roll here, we'll put in the data, and then that'll eliminate the next 5/6 of that bracket. And we basically continue to do that, breaking down as we go until we get down to the final roll, which is the 4th roll over here. Whoop, this guy here. And that roll will determine which final ticket gets the prize. So we're going to be using a dice cam down here where I will be rolling the dice like so that you guys will be able to see perfectly above board live competition. Because I know there are a lot of channels out there that have been accused in the past of doing Patreon giveaways and that sort of thing, and rigging the system so that somebody they know gets it, or their mate gets it, or just not posting at all and having zero accountability. So I want to make sure that everything on this channel is 100% above board. So that's why I'm going to be using dice, and I'm going to do them live so that there's no potential for fuckery. The only potential that we have is... I'm sorry, but is this the Patreon only stream? So this stream is not for Patreon only. There's a good question in the chat there. This stream is not for Patreon only, but it's for the Patreon giveaway. So it's a free stream for everyone to gain access to, and you can have a chat, and I'm happy to have conversations in this stream. But we're doing the Patreon giveaway. So I hope that's not too confusing. I probably should have titled it something better. But yeah, sorry, what was I saying? I was saying about how I want to make sure that this is all above board and there's no fuckery afoot, and that's why we're doing this live, so that everybody can see that it's clearly above board. So we're going to do the dice rolls on this one here, and then provided that my technology doesn't fuck me, I should be able to go into here and clear out this data without ruining the stream. But we'll see. And then as you can see, it should generate the winning ticket at the end there. So fingers crossed that that worked and that cleared all the data out so that we've got clear, no data in there. And yeah, I guess we can sort of start going. So looks like we've only got one person active in the chat right now, but unless who have we got? We've got Transplants. Unless Transplants has any questions or anything that they would like to get a bit of a conversation going on before we start this free giveaway, I see no reason not to just jump straight in. So the first prize that we're going to give away is one of these sets of Patreon exclusive dice, which I'll switch the camera over to the top down so that you can get a bit of a better look at them. So it's a bag with, I think it's got 36 dice in it. So you've got 30 of the red, and then you've got, 3 of the silver, these ones here, and then 3 of the gold. So these are the exact same dice that I use when I go to tournaments. They roll really, really well for me. And they look cool as fuck with the blog logo on it. So that's going to be the prize for this first round of free giveaways. And then I have a second bag, which we'll do for the second round of free giveaways, which I'll show you those up close as well. And these ones are all transparent red, or translucent red. These ones actually sold out the first day that they were available, which was, a surprise. I thought that the red and gold ones would sell faster, but these ones sold out on day one. And unfortunately, I had to turn a bunch of people away who were trying to purchase more. So these are a premium freebie because it's something that was very, very popular. Thought I'd sold out, but I found another bag kicking around. So we're going to give that away today. And then the last giveaway is going to be this Angron model here, which I'll see whether or not the camera will pick it up. It probably won't because it's a bit too close. Yeah, it's a version of this. This is one that I've built and painted, of course. But basically, the one that you'll receive if you win this competition comes in all these little beautifully packed little bags. Very, very cool. And this one was supplied to us by Aparrel 3D printing. So they're a 3D printing service based out of Geelong in Australia, right near Melbourne. So if you have any 3D printing needs, they basically are a 3D printing supplier. They'll do things like you can send them the STL, they'll print it for you and then send it to you, or you can request that they go out and source the STLs and they'll find it and then they'll send it to you. So you could simply just send them an army list and be like, mate, I want this army list, and they will find the STLs, they'll print it for you. Really, really good guys. I haven't used them a lot because I have a 3D printer myself, but sometimes when I just can't be bothered dealing with a 3D printer and the failed prints and all the challenges that we have, sometimes I'll just jump straight in and go, cool, I'm just gonna, get Aparrel to sort it out for me. And they do a fantastic job, and the quality of their prints is fantastic. They've obviously been doing this for a long time to the point where they're doing a business out of it, and they have fine-tuned the settings on their printers to the point where you almost can't tell that it's printed. They also have a really good type of resin. They've found out a really good combo of resins that give it a sort of strength without it being too like brittle. They've done a very good job of that sort of stuff. Some of the stuff that I've got printed through them greatly exceeds my capacity to do printing myself. So I'm looking to partner with Adra Labs, and they're going to basically provide 1 mini a month, and that'll be one of our free giveaways. So yeah, that's one of the exciting things. I just got another comment in the chat down here. What do I think about Pink Horror Patrol Detachment? So with Chaos Space Marines or Thousand Suns, or in Chaos Demons in general. Thanks, mate. Appreciate your content from Canada. Yeah, so Pink Horrors, I mean, I like the splitting ability, especially if it's something that your opponent isn't predicting or doesn't see coming, because you can do things like be off of an objective behind a wall or something like that. They kill a bunch of your stuff, you split, you string out onto that objective, and all of a sudden you're capturing it. You're able to essentially gain movement with your Pink Horrors in a phase other than the movement or charge phase. And anytime you can move a model outside of those phases is always very, very powerful. That being said, they sort of fill a similar role to cultists, in my opinion, in the way that, you know, they're just cheap bodies that you can put on the table that are relatively insignificant in the terms of the fight. So for Chaos Space Marines, generally speaking, I think you're better off going with something like cultists. That being said, now that we get that Demons Patrol Detachment for 0 command points, it is very interesting. And I would sort of look at this as you would only do it if there was other demons that you wanted. You know, so if you're going, cool, I want a Thousand Suns Demons Detachment in my Demons Detachment in my Thousand Suns list because I want a Lord of Change, or because I want Flamers, or because I want, you know, Screamers, or whatever it is, then hell yeah, Pink Horrors in a Chaos list is very powerful. But yeah, probably not necessarily something that I would personally lean into, particularly now that I'm looking into World Eaters for the next, 6 months minimum. I'm going to be hitting those World Eaters hard to see if I can get any juice out of those World Eaters. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. We've got another question down here. You do a great job. Keep it up. Enjoy your real thoughts, not just what GW wants to hear. Thank you, Nick Stark. So that's something that I'm passionate about on this channel, is making sure, because I'm not supported by GW in any way. That's why I'm able to give away 3D printed minis. I'm not supported by GW in any way, and I'm not looking to be. I don't want to, there's this thing called audience capture, which is where like you're only doing what you think your audience want, not what you genuinely want. And that's something that I see a lot of big channels fall prey to. And that's really disappointing. But what's even more disappointing is sponsor capture, where it's like you've got a sponsor or you've got a deal, whether it be with GW or whether it be with somebody else, where they essentially, because of that deal, get to control your content. So they might say, okay, cool, we love your content, we love your this, that, whatever, but you swear a little bit too much. And as far as I'm concerned, they can get fucked. I'm going to swear all I want because I'm an Aussie, that's part of our culture, and I want to share that culture with you. And I'm not going to let that change me. And I'm also not going to go, okay, cool, GW want me to say really good, positive things about this thing that just sucks. It feels like at that point I'm not doing a hobby. And ultimately, this channel all spawned, the reason it's called Blog for the Blood God is because it was all about just documenting my hobby. I never set out to become a content creator or anything like that. It was just, I was here to, play games, meet friends. I grew up in a country town where I was fucking ages away from everybody else, so I didn't get to see my friends often. I'd have to drive for 2-3 hours to get there in order to see them. So basically what I'd do is in between events, I would do my hobby blog, and in that I would update them on what's going on and what's new. And then it sort of grew from there. And I want to stay true to that message. And that's why I'm not reaching out for sponsorships. I'm not trying to do any of that sort of stuff because I'm not interested in audience capture or sponsor capture. So I want to just be authentically me. And I guess the other side of that is, interestingly, authentic me is quite the contrarian. I've got this shocking tendency to whatever the popular opinion is, I go the other way. So, as soon as everyone's like, oh, Chaos Space Marines are nerfed, I was like, okay, I'm going to make them good, As soon as people go, oh, Abaddon's been nerfed, he's too expensive, I'm like, well, I'm going to make him good, There's something in me that wants to do that. And, that's just part of my nature. But I think that also helps generate interesting content because, you're not going to hear the same thing from me that you hear from the 50 other YouTubers. You're going to hear a different opinion, and it might not always be an accurate one, but at least it's a different and interesting one. So that's sort of the goal on this channel. So we've got a couple more things. Love your content. Assuming 10th edition is on the horizon, can you see any changes to morale you'd like to see? And then the other one is, I'm looking to get another Heck Brute because of you. Let's Heck Brutes, let's make it work. 10th edition, changes to morale. I actually miss a lot of the old morale mechanics. The old, first of all, it was determining who won a combat. You didn't just take morale based on casualties. You took morale based on how many casualties you took, how many they took, and the difference. So you might lose 3 models, but if they lose 4, in that melee, you win that combat, and therefore they take morale and you don't. I miss that. I thought that was a ton of fun. And also being able to cut people down where basically they would fall back from they would be forced to fall back from combat. It didn't used to be an optional thing. It used to be like, oh, well, you failed morale check, you have to run away. And they basically had to run towards the table edge. That was really cool and thematic. And they also had the ability to rally, by getting characters nearby, that sort of stuff. I really liked that. Although I think we've headed away from that general complexity direction. And I feel like we're going to head even further away from that. I wouldn't be surprised if morale checks just disappeared in 10th edition, because they're already more or less irrelevant in this edition. Like, it's very, very rare that a game is determined by the outcome of a morale check for me. I wouldn't be surprised if they just did away with it and maybe made it certain things had an ability to inflict morale, but get rid of it as a general principle. I wouldn't be surprised. Who knows? All right, we've got a couple more comments here. We got Michael McFadden. I love the few masterclasses you have put out. Thank you very much. I've got another masterclass coming out very soon on the Heck Brutes. I've took them to a bunch of events now, a bunch of games, and there's some really neat tricks you can do with them. So I'm looking to do a masterclass on that specific unit. And then obviously with the World Eaters Codex, as soon as I get that in my hands, I'm going to be deep diving all of those sorts of things. While you guys are in the chat, let me know what sort of masterclasses you like the most. Do you like the ones where I focus on a specific combo or a specific unit, or do you prefer the broader scale ones where it's like talking about an entire legion? Because I've never really settled on what style of masterclass I want to do more of. Do I want to do more summary styles where I talk about all the different strats, warlord traits, and relics for a certain faction? Or do I want to do ones where it's like, no, here is a really cool, like a bunch of tricks that you can do with a Rhino. The Rhino masterclass was a really good one because I actually got it out on the tabletop and I actually sort of started moving those pieces around, which I really enjoyed doing as well. Obviously, that takes a little bit more effort on the production side, so that's something that I'll hopefully get to do a little bit more in the future when I'm able to commit a little bit more time to this YouTubing endeavor. Because currently I work 45, I work 60, I think I work 65 hours this week at my day job, in a warehouse, pushing around pallets, counting things. I'm an inventory controller, so I do a lot of work there. So it's hard to do that whilst simultaneously carving out time for friends and families, attending tournaments, painting the models that I need for those tournaments, and recording 2 to 3 videos a week for you guys. There's a lot on my plate. So one of the things I'm hoping to do in the not too distant future, hopefully, is go back to working like a 4-day work week instead of 5 days, or reduce my hours. So instead of working 10 to 12 hour days, reduce down to working 7 to 8 hour days. And if I can do that, that'll allow me to carve out more time for these YouTube videos. So one of the ways you can support that is obviously through the Patreon, and it also obviously gets you access to these giveaways. So yeah, that's fantastic, and I very much appreciate all the support. Even if you want to get yourself a shirt like this one here, I'll get out of the way this fucking camera here that's looking at the dice tray. This shirt here, you can get them on my Teesprings account. I'll put all the links in the description of this. I don't think they're in there being a live stream, but I'll put them in there after the fact. And the links are in every one of my videos, so you can go check that out. That's a great way to show some support. I get a couple bucks off every shirt sold. Neoprene objective markers, I also get a couple bucks off every one of those sold. So there's plenty of ways that you can show your support, and it's very much appreciated when you do. What else have we got? I really enjoyed the Legion ones. You give options in different ways to play them. Interesting combos, yep. Creating ways to make a meh unit surprisingly good. Yes, that's what I wanted to do with the Heck Brute. So a lot of people consider them quite meh. They're like, oh, it's 105 points and it's only 8 wounds and it dies pretty easy. It's got no invulnerable save. They're kind of meh. But it's like, well, hang on. If you do certain tricks with them, you can actually make them really, really powerful. So that's something I'm passionate about. It's just a matter of finding those tricks. As soon as I find them, I absolutely will share them with you guys. It's just a matter of getting the time to put the models on the table to find all of the little juicy tricks. What else have we got here? I really like what you did with the Night Lords, breaking down the faction generally and then highlighting specific tech options. Absolutely. Oh God, thanks. Oh God, I had so much trouble versus Demons with leadership with Creations of Baal and Red Corsairs. Their minus leadership cost me 5 chosen in a game and I still won. Good job. And we've got another bloke that also works in a warehouse. So yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what 10th edition brings. I'm concerned that it's going to severely limit our options, but it is one of those things where there's so many people complaining the game's too complex, but then the World Eaters Codex comes out and people are complaining there's not enough options. And it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want complexity or do you want options? Like, it's kind of, it's hard to have both. And I think people are kind of more or less going to complain regardless, So, yeah, that's where we're at there. So let's jump over and let's do one of these giveaways. Let's see if my little spreadsheet's going to work or if it's going to completely fail for us. So let me know in the chat if this works, because I'm going to be jumping from OBS, which I'm streaming through, into Excel, and I'm worried that when I do that, it's going to cut out and it's going to be a fucking nightmare. So basically, for those of you who missed the first part of the stream, I've got on the side of the screen here, we've got a list of all of those who support me on Patreon. And basically for every $1 of monthly support you do, you get a ticket in the raffle. And basically, so you can see that there's people there with 30 tickets, people there with 10 tickets, depending on what your monthly Patreon subscribage is. And then basically I'm gonna roll dice to narrow that down and work out who the winner is. So we're gonna jump over into the dice cam and we've rolled a 3. So this is to determine the winner for the dice set, first of the many dice sets. So we've rolled a 3. So now let's jump back over into here and we've got to enter the data into the spreadsheet here. So you can see that a 3 means that the tickets between 181 and 270, they're going to be the tickets that are going to win. And you can see all the tickets down here. So I might actually, before I do the next one, I'll give a scroll through there so that you can, if you're one of the patrons, you can have a look, find your name in there, find out what your ticket numbers are so that when I'm rolling these out, you can get a bit excited if your numbers start to come up. I did post both of these, all of the entries to my YouTube channel as a post and also to the Facebook page. So if you want to play along at home, you can pull that up and then you can be looking at this as I sort of roll them out. So number 3 means that we are looking at 181 to 270. So now I need to go back into here and back into the dice camera. And now we're going to roll up our next number, which is a 1. So now when we go back in here and we punch in the 1, you can see that it's now broken it down even further. So now instead of being between 181 and 270, we're between 181 and 196. Then we're going to roll one more. Ooh, a big 6 there, which means 6s I have to re-roll due to the number of tickets that we've got here. I was worried my spreadsheet broke for a sec there. So a 2. And that brings us down to only 4 tickets remaining. 185 through to 188. And we rolled a 1 there on the dice. So 1 means that our winning ticket is ticket 185. So now we scroll down here and we find 185. So 185 is between 181 and 190. So Daniel Therme, congratulations, mate. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, hang on one sec, sorry guys. I believe Daniel actually already purchased a set of these dice. So Daniel, you're going to double up. You just won another additional set. So hopefully you've got a big dice bag because you've got another 30 Blog for the Blood God dice coming your way. All right, so if anyone can let me know in the chat if that all worked. Let me know if the audio cut out or if the video cut out, because I'm terrified that I've just done that for no fucking reason. So let me know and we'll continue doing the next round of giveaways once I have confirmation in the chat that that all worked. Whilst we're waiting for that, let's have a quick look at the secondaries. Okay, we've got a $2 super chat from Transplant saying, Angron or Lord Invocatus? That is a fantastic question. I actually suspect, and I'm more than happy to be wrong here, but I suspect that the Lord Invocatus and 8-bound trick is going to be a trap that's going to sink a lot of World Eaters players. Now, I'll outline the combo first, and then I'll explain why I think it's a trap. So the combo is basically you got the Lord Invocatus, his Warlord trait. So this is why it's the conversation of Angron or Lord Invo, because he basically has a Warlord trait, and if you take Angron, he has to take a Warlord trait, and there's no way to get a second, right? So if you take the Lord Invocatus, you give him his Warlord trait, and he allows you to pre-game move 2 units, a normal move, which is 9 inches in the case of the 8-bound. Then he also provides +2 to your movement, so it'll actually allow you to pre-game move them 11 inches. Then, if you go first, you can then move an additional 11 inches, which means that you've had a total movement of 22 inches, then charges, right? So this, on face value, sounds insane. Being able to move 2 big units of 8-bound, which are going to hit like an absolute freight train, moving them up the table that fast is terrifying, right? But there's a few reasons why I think this is actually a trap. One of them is that if you go second, this isn't particularly exciting, right? Like, you could use it to maybe move up a little bit, but chances are if you're moving up into the middle of the table, your opponent is now going to get to charge you in the first turn. So that's concerning. If your opponent's able to just go in and go, cool, I'm charging you, or I'm getting angles on you and I'm shooting you, and now you're just sort of sacrificing your 8-bound units, and they're fucking expensive. Like, they're 40 points each, so 2 units of 6 of them, you know, that's like a quarter of your army. And if you throw that forward and then your opponent goes first, you're kind of done. You're dead, right? So if your opponent goes first, this is not particularly powerful. And then further to that, if you go first, right, there's every chance that your opponent is either A, going to have deployed backline. You know, they're going to know you can move 22 inches and then charge, and your charge range is 12 inches, right? So you can charge 34 inches. Cool. I'm just going to deploy my army 34.5 inches away from your deployment zone. And then you're just like, cool, my 8-bound actually do nothing now, right? You can move 24 inches up, you know, 22 inches up, and they're just going to blast your 8-bound off the table. So it's not that good. It's actually not that good. And I think the internet is wrong on this one, in that everyone's so excited about it, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, this is insane. I think that's going to be a trap. And further to that, even if they don't deploy backline, right? There's nothing stopping them from going, cool, I'm going to deploy, say I was versing it with my Black Legion, right? I would laugh so hard at my opponent if he had the Lord Invocatus and the 8-bound combo. Because I just go, cool, my Terminators are deploying, I'm putting a ring of cultists in front of them, so you can move your 22 inches and then charge. But you can only declare a charge against those cultists because you can't end with an engagement range of my Terminators. Which means you're going to be blowing a quarter of your army to kill a couple units of cultists. You're going to do almost no damage to anything else in my army, depending obviously what else is in the list, but most people are talking about just a fuck ton of 8-bound. So it's like, cool, you're going to do no damage to my cultists, my Terminators. Then we're going to go into my turn, and my Terminators are going to kill fucking everything. They're going to shoot down range and kill that unit at 8-bound. Then they're going to charge both of these units and kill all of them. And then you're fucked. You've just completely lost turn 1, even though you got the first turn. And if you don't get the first turn, then I'm going to use Veilbreaker Plate and I'm going to send my Terminators into the middle of the table and I'm going to destroy you that way. So I think a lot of people are really excited about this 8-bound pre-game move, and on a lot of matchups it's going to do quite well if your opponent's not prepared for it or doesn't know how to counter it. But if your opponent does know what they're doing, they are not going to let you charge them with 8-bound turn 1. They're just not going to let you do it. They're going to either put things in strategic reserves, they're going to screen, they're going to put units that they don't care about at the front so that you have to charge them, or they're just going to deploy out of your range. You know, there's lots of ways that you can get around this, And competent players build tools into their lists specifically for preventing this sort of stuff, because there's tons of armies that can do something similar. This is not a unique or new challenge in any way. So being able to protect yourself from turn 1 charges is something that you have to be able to do if you want to compete at the top levels. And as a result, people have already solved the 8-bound problem before it even became a problem. However, what people haven't solved, a challenge that people have not solved yet, is what to do when you have fucking Angron running around your backfield, killing you, getting killed, and then coming back and doing it again. That's a huge problem. Like, people, what are they going to do? They're going to be like, okay, maybe I just don't shoot him, because if I put bullets into him, yeah, I'm going to kill him, but then he's just going to come back. So they're going to be like, I'll just let him live. You can't let Angron live, because he's going to fucking wreck your backfield, right? So that's a real interesting catch-22, and that's a challenge that people haven't solved yet. I'm not saying that they won't solve it, they fucking will, but they haven't solved it yet. And also, Angron has such a huge movement characteristic that he's got fly, so he's actually really, really interesting when you go second, whereas the 8-bound are not. The 8-bound are really bad when you go second. Angron is really good when you go second, because if your opponent moves into the middle of the table, anywhere in the middle of the table, you're going to be able to threaten charges into them before they can threaten them into you. You're going to be able to go, cool, Angron's behind this ruin here, you can't shoot him, he's hidden, you know, and then he's going to, and this is another thing, is people were complaining that Angron's too small. It's actually good that he's small, that his wings are down low, because it means you'll be able to hide him behind ruins better. So he's going to be able to sit behind that ruin, and he's going to be able to launch out these sick attack vectors. Your opponent has to worry about this huge area of the board that Angron can threaten. So I think that's really, really powerful. Not to mention, he gives Chapter Master style rerolls. He can give +1 attack to nearby World Eater units. He is a force multiplier and an insane beat stick, and he's relatively cheap, and he gets resurrected. So I am personally leaning heavily into the Angron build. That being said, I'm also not leaning heavily into the Disciples of Angron, or whatever it's called, the new Army of Renowned. I actually think that that Army of Renowned is quite interesting, but there's a few things in the traditional World Eaters that's probably more interesting, like fighting on death with Berserkers. That's insane. 6-inch heroic intervention, that's insane. Like, a lot of these stratagems that are only 1 CP and they're really, really effective are very, very good. And I think a mixture of MSU-style Berserkers in Rhinos with a few Hellbrutes perhaps, or a few, you know, something a bit more chunky with a bit of shooting damage is, with Angron as an anchor, that's going to be the direction I'm going to take them, at least for the start. Because I think, I think the shooting damage is going to be important, because you can get a blood tithe point, extra blood tithe points if you kill vehicles per phase. So you want to kill some in shooting and then some in combat to maximize your blood tithe points. So I think having Hellbrutes with multi-melters, or even something like Predators with las cannons, or perhaps Land Raiders with las cannons, that's going to be quite interesting. And then, you know, you've got other bits and pieces. So I'll probably be taking, you know, I'm imagining a table where you've got a couple of ruins to hide behind. You're going to have Angron hiding behind another. Maybe you have a Land Raider with 8-bound inside it, hiding behind another, and a Lord Invocatus near that. Or they're just traditional Juggernaut Lord, because both of them give the +2 to movement buff. And then basically you're going to be able to disembark out your 8-bound. They get 3 inches of disembark. Then they get 12 inches worth of, 9 inches worth of movement, so 12 inches total. +2 from this guy, which is 14 inches, and then a charge. And then Angron himself is also 14 inches and then a charge. So basically you're going to have these two things that are projecting out, you know, 26-inch threat range, plus potential charge buffs from the Blood Tithe itself. That's really interesting. And then that Land Raider can move out, pop some las cannon shots down range, maybe combined with something else that's going to do shooting damage to try to kill an enemy vehicle. And if you can kill that, boom, there's 2 Blood Tithe points for you straight out the gate. If you can kill another thing with maybe heavy bolters or something like that, that's 3, which means that you can spend those 3 in that first turn to get plus to your charge range, which affects Angron and the 8-bound. I think something like that is much more interesting and much more, you know, it's got a lot more pieces that you can play with, instead of going all in on the whole just yeeting 8-bound at people. which is only going to really work on inexperienced players. Anybody who knows what they're doing is going to be like, absolutely fucking not. So I know that was a huge tangent from the giveaways that we're in the process of resolving, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot. And every time, because I'm reading articles and stuff as they come through, I obviously haven't had a massive amount of free time to do any of this sort of stuff myself. And I didn't want to just do another article where I'm reading what it is. Like, everybody knows what they are now. We don't need another video that's just saying what things do. We know what they do now. I didn't want to just produce the same content that everybody else is producing, but mine has a red background. Like, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something different. And this is the direction that my mind has been going. And every time I read one of these articles where they're like, oh my God, 8-bounder OP, buy 1 billion of them. I'm like, no, they're not. You're wrong. That being said, I did order 9 boxes of 3 so that I could run 3 units of Exalted 8-bound and 3 units of maxed out 8-bound, because I've been wanting to play World Eaters Codex since I was fucking 12, and I'm just going to buy everything that they release in maximum quantities, because that's what this channel's about. So, so I did buy them, and I will play around with that idea. I might do a few battle reports showcasing the challenges with it and showcasing how your opponent can beat it and how you need to play knowing that your opponent can beat it, knowing that they can mess with your charges and that sort of stuff. So yeah, fantastic question. Thank you very much for the super chat. If anybody wants me to spend, roughly that amount of time answering a 3-word question, do a super chat, because I can see that the chat is starting to fill up now. And I'm just going to make sure my mic's on. Yep, cool. The chat is filling up now, so I'm not going to be able to get to every question. So if you want me to answer your question, do it a super chat. You can do it just $1, and then it'll pop up at the top, and then I'll be like, okay, cool, there's a question worth putting a little bit more time and effort into my answer. The rest of them I'm going to sort of try to power through as best as I can. So yeah, thanks for that. What have we got here? Angron is 16-inch movement. Yep. Fantastic. Obviously I don't have the book in front of me yet, but I couldn't remember who was 16 or 14, but yeah. No, some really cool stuff there. So we've given away, Daniel Thombe has got this pack of dice. I will post it out on Monday. It is Sunday here in Australia, so I'll post that out tomorrow morning. Next, we're going to do the translucent red dice. We're going to do the giveaway there. So I'm assuming the fact that nobody has said that it didn't work, I'm assuming that that whole rolling it out on camera process worked. If it didn't, make sure you let me know, because otherwise this next moment is going to look really silly. So we're going back over to this screen where we've got the, oh, that's all wrong. That should be like that. Sorry about that, guys. Me being a fusspot. So basically we've got the screen here. So just to recap for those who may have just joined the stream, on the left over here, we've got all of the names of the people who support me on Patreon and what their monthly contribution is. And basically for every $1 of monthly contribution, you get a ticket into this free giveaway on the Patreon. And yeah, so I've posted the list up on the Facebook page and on my YouTube channel as a post. So if you want to pull that up and play along, find your name on there. If you happen to be one of my supporters, find your name, and that'll tell you what your ticket numbers are. And then basically what we're doing is we're using a D6 to randomize which tickets are selected, and that person will receive a gift. So this gift is the set of translucent red Blog for the Blood God dice. These were the first ones to sell out. They sold out the day that they were available, and I didn't realize that I still had one set left. It was buried in the bottom of my tournament kit bag. I thought I'd sold out of the red one, the translucent red, but I found one. So this one's probably the most premium dice set that I've had available to date, and we're going to be giving that away. And basically what you can see up here is we're basically going to roll the dice 4 times. The first dice roll will split all of those tickets into 6 components and then select one of them. So basically it's going to eliminate 5/6 of the tickets. Then we're going to roll again, eliminate 5/6 of the remaining tickets. And we basically repeat that process until there's only a single ticket left. And then we look up that ticket to see who our big winner is. So we're going to jump over to the dice camera, which is also, for some reason, blown out to be a bit too big. Oh God. Fuck my life. All right, cool. So, dice cam, right here. We're going to roll the dice. And then I need to open Excel and clear out the data from our last roll, which goes here. All right. So the first roll, which is going to determine the first sixth of the field, we rolled a big 6. So this is quite exciting because if you look on the screen down here, you can see at the top is all the people who got 30 or more tickets, then there's all the people with 10 tickets and so on. So if I roll a 1, it's going to be likely like one of the top 3 people. But if I roll a 6, it actually gets down into the weeds down here where you've got a whole bunch of people that only have a single ticket. So a little bit more exciting when I roll a 6. So let's have a look at the second roll. We roll a 2. Hopefully that shows up on camera. I'm just going to double check that. Yes, correct. Good, good, good. It appears the system is working, guys. All right, our third roll, to narrow it down a little bit further, is a 1. So we've got a 1 there, which means we have 4 tickets left to select from. So we've got 467, 68, 69, and 470. So what did we say? It was 467 onwards. So from 467, so it's going to be either Mark Ambrose, Matt Day, or Michael Butch. Or Butch, I don't know how you want to pronounce it, but let's see who the winner is. With a 4, means that our winning ticket is 470. So 470 is Matt Day. So there's that. Alrighty guys, so Matt Day is the winner of the translucent red Blog for the Blood God dice. These are very, very good dice. I was using them as wound counters so that I didn't mix them in with my other solid red dice. But they're yours now, mate. So I will contact you through Patreon and find out your delivery details, and I'll post them out to you first thing on Monday, which is tomorrow morning. And hopefully they'll be in your hands by the end of the week, and you'll be able to get rolling with them as soon as that World Eaters Codex is in your hands. So very exciting stuff. So we've only got one more giveaway to do, which is going to be the 3D printed Angron. He's all boxed up and ready to go. He's ready for you to assemble. Brought to you by Adra Labs, who's a good friend of mine out in Geelong near Australia, near Melbourne in Australia. So if you want 3D printed components or 3D printed armies, he's your guy to see. And basically what he does is you can either send him the STL, he'll print it for you and send it back to you. So you don't have to have a messy 3D printer in your house. You don't have to deal with the challenges of failed 3D prints or anything like that. You can just jump straight in and find an STL, just Google it, find one, send it to him, and he'll print it for you. Or alternatively, you can just send him a list of models that you would like, and he will source the STLs, he will find them, he'll download them, and he'll incorporate the costs of any of that sort of work into the total price, and then he'll send you the army that you want. So you literally just, you dream it, he sends it to you, which is an amazing deal. And often you'll end up with a full army for less than Games Workshop's recommended retail price, and it's all assembled and all good to go, and you didn't have to raise a fucking finger. So this is really fantastic, particularly if you've got like a tournament coming up or something like that, and you don't have the time to go out and buy and wait for postage to then build and then do all this bullshit to get your army together. It's a one-stop shop, and he sorts it all out for you. So it's absolutely fantastic. I'm really glad to be supporting him and his endeavors. So yeah, that's where we're at in terms of the giveaway. And basically the Angron that you're going to win, he's going to, once assembled, he's going to look like this lad here. He's a really beautiful sculpt. Some people have problems with the face. I actually like the face. But yeah, he's a beautiful model nonetheless. And we're going to be giving away one of those shortly. I'm just going to jump straight back into the chat real quick and catch up on what people are talking about. So we got a super chat here, $10. Thank you, Transplants. So, is there any place for Alpha Legion competitively with their new secondary? Also, Iron Warriors for my man Daniel Paley and their mini AOC. So, both very good questions. When Arcs of Omen first came out and they did that change for the Alpha Legion secondary, I was just like, fucking, it is on. It is on like Donkey Kong. Because I took Alpha Legion to a GT 6 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that. And I won 4 out of my 5 games, which was, I was really happy with that. And the trick with the warp talons, where you do like what people are talking about with 8-bound, right? You get a pre-game move, then you move, and you charge, right? The difference is with the warp talons, it was a pre-game move of 12 inches, and then a first turn move of 12 inches, and then you were charging people. So really, really strong. And further to that, the warp talons have the ability to prevent your opponent from being able to fall back, which is really, really good. And they also have the fly keyword, which is another reason why they're really, really relevant and why the trick on them is way better than the 8-bound trick. Because if somebody tries to screen you out, you can just fly over their screens. You can just charge the things behind them. Whereas 8-bound have to charge the thing directly in front of them. So Alpha Legion are definitely very relevant in the Arcs of Omen meta. And also the fact that they can take all these legionaries with all these extra weapons and then they can basically put them back into strategic reserves during the game means that you're going to be able to cycle out your units, cycling out raptors, cycling out your warp talons, sending them in the specific areas where they're required is going to be really, really powerful and really, really cool. And then their new secondary, Subvert, is actually really good. It only goes off on a 4-up, which is kind of scary, but even if you take the Subvert ability away from it, it's still a decent secondary, because if you do the action within your opponent's deployment zone, you're getting 4 victory points, and the action completes at the end of your turn. So that's really strong, especially given that you've got these units that are able to pre-game move 12, and then in the movement phase, move 12. You're going to be able to get units up the board really fast, which pairs really well with behind enemy lines. I think Alpha Legion have the potential to be a really high-scoring army, whilst simultaneously potentially cutting the legs out of underneath your opponent and reducing their ability to score their secondaries, or even their primaries. So Alpha Legion, fuck yes, they are very, very much irrelevant and should be part of the conversation because they are very strong. I recommend that people go back and watch my Alpha Legion masterclass, because in that, what I did is I broke down every single deployment map and I spoke about which objectives were subvertible. Because basically, in order to subvert an objective, you must be wholly within 6 inches of their deployment zone. So only certain objective markers can be flipped. So I basically took every single deployment zone, did some maths, calculated out which ones would be subvertible, and I've broken all that down for you. This is really, really helpful if you are running Alpha Legion, because you can look at the mission that you're playing and then decide whether or not you want to take Infiltrate and Subvert, because if there's none, or there's only the one in their deployment zone, then you absolutely don't take that secondary, you take something else. So, well, you not necessarily absolutely don't, because like I said, even without the subversion component, it's still a relatively high scoring secondary, but it is one of the factors that you will consider, because perhaps there's a better one that you could take, that might have some more utility. So that Alpha Legion Masterclass, if you are looking to run Alpha Legion, definitely check that out. Nothing has changed except for the fact that it's just all gotten better. Their ability to infiltrate has gotten better. Their ability to subvert objectives has gotten better. So all of the stuff that was mentioned in that masterclass is still very relevant today. It's just all even better than I said it was. So I highly recommend that you guys head over and check that out if Alpha Legion is something you're interested in. Iron Warriors, on the other hand, is a different situation. I was not a huge fan of Iron Warriors before Arcs of Omen, and I feel like maybe they didn't really get anything out of it, because they're not really about infiltration, right? So the whole being able to put things in strat reserves for free, that's not a huge buff for them. They're not about bringing demon allies, so that's not necessarily a huge buff for them because there's no particular synergies there, right? So if that's the direction you're headed down, you're better off headed down that direction with a different legion. So when I'm trying to decide on a legion, if there's another legion that does the same thing but better, I'll typically go with that legion. I know obviously there's a lot of people out there with beautifully painted Iron Warriors armies that just want to know how do we get the best out of our Iron Warriors. And I think Iron Warriors still want to lean on that Terminator build. I think going, cool, we've still got this really fuck-off hard-to-kill Terminator unit. It's harder to kill than anybody else's because it kind of kept Armor of Contempt and, everybody else lost it. And it's, it's got the ability to go -1 damage. It's got the ability to go, all of the different things that Iron Warriors can do. I think they're better off leaning into that. The only challenge I have with that is that I think Black Legion Terminators are just better because of the ability to use Veilbreaker and the ability to get reroll hits and wounds from Abaddon and the ability to get +1 to hit against the closest target or in melee. So I think Black Legion Terminators just do it better. That being said, Iron Warriors Terminators do it very well as well. You know, you can still get objective secured on them with the Bastion Warlord trait. You can still make them tough as nails and push up into the middle of the table. So there's a lot of stuff you can do there. The thing that I'm more interested about with Iron Warriors, which I'm trying to think about how I would go about implementing this, is a Master of Possessions and a Khorne Lord of Skulls in strategic reserves. And then basically, or even better, a Brass Scorpion, right? That Brass Scorpion and the Master of Possessions come on together, and then you can basically cast +1 toughness on the Brass Scorpion, so it goes up to toughness 9. And then, if your opponent shoots at it, you can reactively make it -1 to wound, which means that things like melter guns, dedicated anti-tank weaponry, are going to be wounding you on 6s. That's fucked. That's so fucking strong. And being able to bring this thing on from strat reserves means that you're guaranteed to get, or not guaranteed, but you're very likely to get that psychic power off before your opponent targets you. Whereas previously, you wouldn't be putting it in strategic reserves because that would cost too many points, like too many command points, so you have to deploy it on the table. And if you deploy it on the table and your opponent goes first, they just go, cool, you're dead. I kill you before you get your buffs on. And you're like, oh, okay, that was fun. You know, there's a couple hundred points down the drain. Whereas now that you can strat reserves, and that's very interesting. And also the Brass Scorpion got cheaper, which is obviously interesting. And it also gains a 3d6 charge, which is really good when you're coming in from strat reserves, because you're coming in from a table edge and you can go for that 3d6. And more often than not, you will make it, because an average roll on 3d6 is 10.5, and you theoretically come on 9 inches away from your opponent. So yeah, the Brass Scorpion is a very interesting tech piece in an Iron Warriors list because of their ability to buff their demon engines. You could also bring a Warp Smith on with him. I know a lot of his buffs are command phase, which you wouldn't. Guys. All right, how's that? Apologies, guys. It wouldn't be a Blog for the Blood God live stream if something didn't go wrong. So let me know. Yep, sound is back. Okay, thank you. Good thing I was jumping in the chat, because I've got a habit of these things copping out and me just rambling on for hours on end, and nobody I don't see that the sound goes out, and it's a problem. So hopefully that wasn't gone for too long. We lost 2 minutes at least, so that's hopefully not too bad. Corey's like, it was saying something about chaos. No shit. Cool. Luckily, that didn't go out during a time whilst I was doing one of these rolls for the free giveaways, because that would have been embarrassing. So, yeah, apologies for that, guys. I might actually just real quickly chuck that. I've got two microphones for this exact reason, because their batteries don't last forever. And I'll just chuck the other one on charge so that if this one cops out, you guys can let me know in the chat, and I can swap the batteries back out again. So I've been trying to get some ideas on how I can get an additional microphone, maybe a boom mic that can come down here or something like that. Like I've got roof mounted cameras and all sort of shit. So I was like, why not have a roof mounted microphone? The reason that I use these lapel mics is because if you're doing a battle report, it's really good to be able to walk around wherever you want to walk and have the microphone follow you. So, but yeah, perhaps that's something that I'll look into in the future is a roof mounted microphone that can come down on a boom arm and sit down here somewhere. Always looking for ways to improve the quality of this content. And all of these little $2 super chats, every time one of those comes through, it goes straight into the account, goes straight towards the next thing that I buy for the channel to improve the quality. Like you'll notice there's a red light here. That's new. That's brand new. And it's basically giving me a little bit better of a lighting in this garage. You'll also notice soundproofing on the wall behind me. That's all brand new. Pain in the ass to install, but looks good, and hopefully that helps with the audio quality as well. I've sort of taken a new approach with this channel where basically this channel is my primary hobby now, you know, like trying to get better at YouTubing, trying to get better at, you know, creating engaging content, trying to get better at the systems side, which I'm fucking garbage at. It's like, how do you use OBS? I'm bad with programs. How do I link up all this various equipment? Like, this is a new thing for me. Previously, I did everything on my mobile phone. I used to literally record with my mobile phone, edit it on my mobile phone, upload it to YouTube from my mobile phone. So that's how I used to do things. Now I have a laptop, I have cameras, I have a fucking camera on the wall over there. It's all fancy and new and exciting. It's very exciting, but it's a steep learning curve, and I very much appreciate your support on this journey. So we're going to jump in, see some more chats. We've got a thing from Spencer. I did the Iron Warriors, Warpsmith, Master of Possession, and Lord of Skulls last game, and my opponent did not even want to mess with it. That's so true. I mean, your opponent is going to look at it, and when you tell them, this is actually something that's really worth noting, that stratagems like being able to reactively, after being targeted, you can make yourself neg1 to be wounded. The beautiful thing about that is it's expensive. It's 2 command points, or it might even be 3. I think it's 3 actually. You can tell your opponent that you can do that, and as a result, they just won't shoot you. They'll shoot something else, and that means you didn't even need to spend those 3 command points. It's amazing how often threatening to do something will deter your opponent, and then you don't have to do it, and you haven't spent the command points, and your Lord of Skulls is just going to live forever. You know, when you're going through your list at the start of the game, and you're like, by the way, just so you know, I can spend 3 command points to make him neg 1 to wound. I can heal back wounds on him. I've got a Warlord trait that allows me to heal back X, Y, Z. I can make him toughness, like I make him fucking hard to kill. Your opponent will immediately assess that. They'll go, can I kill it through all those buffs? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, I can't kill it through all those buffs, they will develop a game plan around killing everything else in your army. They'll avoid that at all costs. And then what you do is you don't put the buffs on it. You don't put the stratagems on it. Maybe you run your fucking Warpsmith over with something else, and you're doing the resurrection trick to get extra movement, and now your opponent hasn't planned for that because they've planned for you to have him with your Lord of Skulls or your Brass Scorpion, and now you're just fucking them, and you're just doing all this stuff, and they have no idea what's going on, right? So having something that is that intimidating is a massive flex, and it often will flip games where your opponent could beat you if you followed that plan. But when you put forward a plan that they then try to counter, and then you don't execute the plan that they're trying to counter, you execute their counter, you know? So their counter is, we're going to kill everything else. And you're like, okay, cool. Well, because you've deployed in such a way that you're going to kill everything else, I'm actually going to put a whole bunch of stuff in strat reserves that you were planning to kill, and I'm actually going to deploy the Lord of Skulls, right? So obviously you can't decide that after their deployment, but when you have the conversation with them at the start of the game, they're immediately going to start formulating a response. And then when you deploy in a way that's non-consistent with what their response is, it can create really exciting and interesting moments on the tabletop. So I think the Lord of Skulls is a really good option because he's got the better save than a Brass Scorpion. Brass Scorpion's got the better charge from reserve, so there's arguments for either. I'm probably more leaning towards the Brass Scorpion route, simply because of that 3d6 charge means that you're able to just come on from strat reserves, shoot a bunch of stuff, and charge a bunch of stuff and just do explosive damage on the turn that you arrive, and really like drive home the point to your opponent that they have to deal with this thing. They can't avoid it. Whereas the Lord of Skulls, he's a little bit more, you're more likely to deploy him on the table and just move up the table with him. So you got options there. Depends on your playstyle and what you're interested in. We're going to jump back into the chat for just a small moment, and then we're going to do the big roll-off to see who wins this 3D printed Angron model. So let's jump back in. What do we got here? I'd rather put my money with you than Tabletop Tactics. Thank you very much. Pull the recording equipment out of the bedroom and get more in the studio. The missus will understand. That's fucking funny. Oh god. Do you think mixing Khorne Demons with the new World Eaters is the way to go for easier blood tithe point generation and overall a better rounded list? So yes and no. There's a few things to consider here. I think because Angron, I could be wrong obviously, I don't have the book in front of me, but I believe Angron has the Warp Locust keyword, which means that he actually does pair quite well with those demons. And having a detachment that has a few units of Flesh Hounds is really good, because Flesh Hounds are amazing for their points. They're fast, they're relatively tough, they do decent damage, and they bring psychic utility. So there's a lot going on for the Flesh Hounds. There's also a lot going on for Skull Cannons, because they're going to be able to bring shooting support that's going to help you potentially generate blood tithe points in the shooting phase. They're going to bring, something that can hold your backfield, which is something that World Eaters are potentially going to lack. So you've got something there. And they also do decent combat damage as well, so they're kind of a good all-round unit, especially given how fucking cheap they are. And they also lean into that MSU playstyle. You go, cool, I've got all these small units, and it's like, cool, they kill your Skull Cannon. Well, it's a vehicle, so, that's going to get you, I believe it's a vehicle. Could be cavalry. Might be worth checking me, fact check me on that. But yeah, Skull Cannons, amazing. Flesh Hounds, amazing. The challenge I see with this is that and then you bring Skull Taker as a HQ. He's really good because he's just like, he doesn't need any Warlord traits or relics because he goes in and he's already ignoring invulnerable saves. He's already buffing things. He's very, very good for his points. The challenge is going to be that tax of the Bloodletters. The Bloodletters are pretty expensive and not particularly amazing. They don't bring anything that the rest of the World Eaters Codex doesn't really do already. So they're the bit that's a bit more challenging. That being said, with Angron's Warp Locust, being able to bring them in 6 inches charge, that's pretty cool. So I definitely think there is absolutely an argument for, Skull Taker, Bloodletters, and then you fill the rest out with either Skull Cannons or Flesh Hounds, depending on your points available and whatnot. Yes is the answer to that question. And it's just a quick note that it's worth pointing out that when it comes to the amount of demons that you can bring, it's done by power level. So if you want to increase the power level that you spend on your World Eaters, that'll increase the amount of power level you can spend on your demons. And a really easy way to do this is to just add 1 Berserker to each unit. So instead of running a bunch of units of 5, you run a bunch of units of 6. And if you're running units of 6, they cost twice as many power level as the units of 5. Which means if your army was 100 power level with units of 5, it'll be 200 power level if they're all units of 6, more or less, right? And that means that instead of taking 25 power level worth of demons, you can actually bring 50 power level worth of demons, which means you can go 2 Skull Cannons, 2 units of Flesh Hounds. You can really bump those numbers up and do some serious work with those, units. So yes, absolutely, I think it'll work. The only downside, obviously, is that the demons themselves don't benefit from the blood tithe. So when you're getting +1 to charge army-wide, that's less exciting if a decent portion of your army is actually demons. So there's some decisions to be made on that front. But yeah, I'll definitely be experimenting with some mixed armies going forward. Cool. Coors Light or Foster's? I'm not a beer guy myself. I'm a cider boy, so or a whiskey boy. So unfortunately, I cannot answer that. All right, cool. The rest of the conversation seems to be about beer. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the final roll to see who wins this 3D printed Angron. So we're going to jump back into this screen here so that we can do the, let me just make sure that everything is set up correctly. And we're going to find out who the big winner is for the 3D printed Angron. So make sure you head over to the Facebook page, Blog for the Blood God, or on the YouTube channel in a post. I've put up the entire list of people who are in the competition, people who have supported me on Patreon. All your names are on there, and only current patrons. So if you supported in the past and you've since discontinued your support, you're not included in the list. It's only current Patreons. But there's a list of everyone there and what their tickets are. And just a quick refresher for those of you who might not have been here at the start of the stream or when we've done the previous rolls. The way it's going to work is basically for every $1 of support you give on a monthly basis, you will get 1 ticket. And that's all listed along the side there. Also available on the Facebook and the YouTube posts. So basically, if you submit $30 a month in support, you'll get 30 tickets into this competition. And then basically we're going to roll up numbers to determine who that winner is. The first roll will basically eliminate 5/6 of the tickets, available tickets. So basically whatever number, that group of tickets will remain. And then we roll again to eliminate 5/6 of that pool. And then we eliminate again and again until we get down to only 1 ticket remaining. So what do we got here? We've got someone screaming no in the chat. Giving me anxiety. I thought maybe the microphone had jumped out again. Found you this week and so glad I did. Love your videos. Thank you. Welcome, Nate Wright. Thank you very much for that kind comment. I do recommend, and I know this is going to sound like a self-serving plug, but I do recommend going through my history and checking out some of my older videos, because a lot of what I do these days is quite topical and quite current events sort of stuff. But some of the stuff I've done in the past is really good general advice that's timeless. Some stuff that, 5 years from now, it'll still be very relevant advice for 40k players. So definitely recommend going through and just scrolling through, and if you see a thumbnail of a topic that interests you, jump on it and check it out. So one of the things YouTube is not very good at is recommending older stuff. It seems to just sort of keep going, oh, Dean posted a video, send it out. It doesn't really recommend older stuff. So if you enjoy the content, I definitely recommend going and checking that sort of stuff out. More talk about breweries. Okay, cool. So with all that talk about breweries, while you guys are talking about beer in the comments, we're going to get down to the dice camera and we're going to roll to see who our first winner is. So, or our final winner is. So the winner of this is going to get a 3D printed Angron. So we got a 2 for our first roll. Punch in a 2 there. Now our second roll, so basically now the winner of this Angron is going to be somebody between ticket 91 and 180. So we're actually, interestingly, 91 to 180. We already know that it's going to be one of these people here highlighted. So Daniel Katz, Clancy Baker, Christopher Daly. Most of these are people who submit $10 a month in Patreon support. So realistically, $10 a month has just got them a free 3D printed Angron, potentially. But then we have Parisa, which is a $30 a month. So Parisa's in for a 3 times as likely win here. Let's roll the next one. Another 2. So let's punch that in. And then our fourth and final roll to see who the winning ticket is. We rolled a 5. Now I have to re-roll 5s due to the number of tickets we have available here. So re-rolling that 5, rolled another 5, and we rolled another 2. So triple 2. Oh wait, hang on. Sorry, I'm going to take that first 5. Sorry, for some reason I thought I was in the last roll. So we're taking that first 5 that I rolled, and now we roll, and we got to re-roll 5s on this last one. Sorry about that, guys. 6, so 6s I do have to re-roll. Let's roll it again. 4. So that now makes it 4. So ticket 123, I hope I didn't fuck that up. 123 is Austin von Alvis. So congratulations to Austin. You are the big winner of the 3D printed Angron. So hopefully you're in the chat. If you're not, I will reach out to you on Patreon and I'll post this bad boy out to you. I will post it express. Hopefully you're a local. If you're international, that's unfortunate because it's probably going to take a little bit to get to you. But if you're a local, you should get it next week, which means that you'll be able to get him built and painted so that he's on the tabletop, ready for that World Eaters Codex. So yeah, just going to have a real quick dip into the chat before we finish this stream. What do we got here? We got a $10 super chat from Michael McFadden. Thank you very much. I do really appreciate the support here. We got Nick Wright helping me finish my Black Legion and turn me on to World Eaters, where I wasn't as interested as before. Sick. Good to go. Good to go. Yeah, so congratulations, Austin. We're going to end the stream here. Thank you very much for everybody who tuned in. Let me know what you thought about this format of free giveaway. So what do you think of the idea of giving away some dice and then a model, or whether you want to see more models as giveaways, model kits? I've got all kinds of, I can do fucking anything. It's just what you guys would be interested in. I like the 3D printing angle because it's something that not everybody has access to. So being able to provide that, I think, is a little bit more interesting than just like a kit that you could just go and buy yourself from Games Workshop. So personally, I like that as an idea, as well as the Patreon exclusive dice. That's something that you can't buy elsewhere. So that's sort of the idea. But if you'd like to see more model kits and that sort of stuff, let me know. Or if you'd like to see like fully painted minis as giveaways as opposed to kits, let me know. So we'll do all kinds of different things on this channel. It's a community we're growing together. And if you want to be involved in the next one, make sure to head over to Patreon and subscribe. You can do it for as low as $4 a month, which is only $1 a week. Which is fuck all. It's like less than a cup of coffee. And these are Australian dollars as well. So dirt cheap for all you international viewers. And if you, depending on which tier you get, I do coaching services. So if you want some more one-on-one stuff where we'll have a dialogue back and forth, we can do phone calls, we can do all kinds of things, talk about your list for an upcoming event, certain lists that you struggle with, certain key mechanics of the game, like maybe you need help learning how to deploy more effectively, or how to do target allocation, those sorts of things. We do all of that sort of coaching is available via Patreon. And then we also, at the $10 tier, you gain access to the Blog for the Blood God Discord server. And we have a ton of really cool guys in there. We get a lot of work done. And we also provide a lot of coaching and list writing help in there through text. So got you covered from all kinds of angles. So let me know what you'd be interested in the Discord, in the Patreon, on the comments of this video. If you want to help out the channel, you can pick up a shirt. You can pick up neoprene objective markers. We're now completely sold out of the Patreon exclusive dice. So that's exciting. I'll have to do another order and get another batch in. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Now let's figure out how we go about ending the stream. Stop streaming. Would you like to